Welcome back to the Rebel Mama podcast. I'm Aleks, Jassem.
And I'm Nikita, Stanley. And today we're discussing pleasure as it relates to our surroundings.
Yes, we're spending the next 30 minutes or so chatting about interior design and how small tweaks make a big impact on how you enjoy your space.
I feel like you could run a masterclass on this, actually, just by yourself. Anybody that's been to Alex's house knows this. How does interior design translate into pleasure for you?
I mean, it definitely helped that I grew up in a home with two parents that were architects. So everything was always just really practical and purposeful and well-designed, lots of art and things like that. And I think just from a young age, I learned that space was important.
Yes.
Now, also being a Virgo and a little bit OCD and super tidy and things like that, a calm space equals a calm mind. And I know it's the same for you. So I can't be in a place that's cluttered. It needs to feel good for me every day.
Yes.
It's sort of a couple of my friends made the joke that's like, oh, your home is always like house and home. It's always ready. But I kind of want it to feel like that. I want it to be ready for if anyone pops over.
Ready for
good.
anything.
Can you imagine somebody comes over and your house looks like shit?
No.
I would die.
No. Yeah. That's not in the cards for us. I mean, we could probably go on and on about this topic forever. But we should probably bring in an expert
I thought we were the experts.
We're experts in our own special ways. We're armchair experts, actually. Not affiliated with that podcast, though. So our expert is going to come and she's going to keep us on track. But before we introduce her, let's take a wee ad break and come right back. Got real estate questions? You better call the Wolf. Wolf Street Real Estate is a full-service real estate team specializing in residential sales across the GTA. I used Wolf Street last year for the sale of my family home, and it was the most seamless experience ever. From their in-depth market analysis to staging and marketing, their attention to detail is unparalleled. And when it's time to negotiate, this team truly goes to bat for their clients. Find them online at wolfstreet.ca. And be sure to tell them the Rebel Mama sent you. And now, back to the show. All right, we are back and we are here with our friend and design aficionado, Adriana Pietropaolo.
Adriana is the founder of APD, a boutique Toronto-based interior design studio that specializes in residential and hospitality interior design. Her firm designs spaces that are inspired by the thoughts, emotions, and values that define her clients, as she takes a narrative-driven approach to create experiential spaces that go far beyond the surface. Adriana is a down-to-earth NCIDQ certified interior designer who strongly believes in kindness, so do we, and that's why we love her, communication, and transparency throughout the entire design process.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm good. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yay, we're so excited that you're here. We love this topic.
Yes, we do.
And there was a reason why we wanted to have you specifically here today. We know that your home design is something that we're going to chat about for sure. But one of the main reasons we wanted you specifically is because of your experience in the hospitality space. So as you know, we're talking a lot about pleasure and how to bring more of that into our lives. And I feel like the best way to create a home environment that you don't want to leave is to draw inspiration from hotels.
Absolutely.
And restaurants and all the places you go and feel sexy and good.
Those boutique hotel vibes?
Yeah, those are the best vibes ever. And you are familiar with those vibes. So we were wondering if you could tell us some things that, like, what are you thinking about when you're designing a restaurant or a hotel lobby? Like, what's happening in your brain as a designer when you're designing that kind of space?
Well, first of all, I'm honored. Thank you. And it's a really good question because I think a lot of people think that the hotel design or restaurant design was basically Pinterest unlocked and like being manifested into a space. And it's not that at all. So with hotels and restaurants, what's really important is understanding, of course, the client and the brand, But more than anything, the design for these spaces is always guided by a concept. And when I say concept, I don't mean like a pretty, probably what you've already seen on social media, like
A visual board, I was gonna say. Yeah.
yeah, this is not what I mean at all by concept. That comes definitely, but that's not the sort of thing that starts the project. It's really about almost like a narrative, a design narrative that is, I'll equate this to writing. So your thesis statement, your like North Star about how you're going to approach the design functionally, in form, and then aesthetically as well. So it becomes this sort of thesis statement or a design strategy, if you will, that really tells the brand owner, hotel owner, about what to expect in this space. So we're talking about, yes, the floor plan, the function, how are we going to operate through? What does the experience for the end user look like the minute that they step through those doors? But it goes even beyond that. We're talking about like, what does the website look like? All of the elements of the user experience from top to bottom. And sometimes we pull the concepts from, the brand is really, they want something very specific, or the hotel owner wants something really specific. They want, you to be in the middle of downtown Toronto, and then you step into Italy or a 5-star hotel in Dubai or something very luxury. They might have a very clear vision for the project already, or sometimes they don't. And so we look also at local context, the neighborhood that these spots are going into. If it's a restaurant, who is the chef? What is the menu? All of these things. So we really do a deep dive in research and a holistic approach to then come up with this design strategy or design narrative that is the concept, that is that guiding statement that we carry through the project from start to finish. And what I mean by that is we define the design principles there. We have an idea of some of the materiality, but not everything just yet. We know, though, what the story is going to be. We know what we want the end user to walk away and then tell their friends about. Have you been to so and so? Like, it's amazing. This is what I felt. We know how we're going to evoke that emotion and that experience, so it becomes really meaningful. And what the design narrative does is it also informs all of our design decisions. So it informs the space planning, it informs the material selection, it informs the cool detail on the banquet booth in the restaurant. It really is a North Star throughout the entire process. And with hospitality and restaurant design, you have to be able to validate every single design decision that you're making. So you can't just say like, yes, we're going to do, this
marble floors.
Leather marble floors because like I found it and it looks really good and I think it'll just fit. Like It has to be deeper and go beyond that. It has to make sense. Because at the end of the day, you're working with businesses too.
And costs.
We have to consider the ROI and cost. Exactly, right? So, but everything has to be tied to a holistic design narrative at the beginning.
So is that something that people can start with when they're thinking about their own space? Like what story do I want to tell? How do I want people to feel when they walk into my house? How do I want to feel? I mean, obviously, I think when it comes to your house, how you want to feel should matter the most because you're the one spending the most time there.
Yeah.
So would you recommend to your clients come up with a narrative of how you would like to feel, or is that something that you would bring into home design as well?
Well, 1,000%. I personally, I don't know how to design without doing this. So, in my studio, I take a very narrative-driven approach, and it can be for a brand, a business, and a homeowner. Because when you don't have this sort of North Star, I keep saying North Star, but when you don't have this catalyst statement to guide you, this is where things get you get lost. As a designer, you get lost. As a homeowner, you get lost, and it becomes really confusing. And I think we underestimate how much our home interior spaces can impact us mentally on a day-to-day basis. We pass it off so easily. And I think if we just spent more time to actually reflect about what is it that I want to feel at home, and it may not be this like grandiose narrative, like a cool restaurant or like an oyster bar or whatever, and that's okay. But just giving ourselves some time to really pause and not get caught up with social media and not get caught up with with Mr. and Mrs. Jones have down the road, and just about like what you like and what feels good to you and how you want to feel in your home.
Yeah.
So I think you can definitely apply this, and I definitely apply this with my clients. If it's okay to share, one way that I do this is like through what I call a vision session. So this was something that I was taught a long time ago, and I still practice this. It's basically you start by shopping your home, just like you kind of shop your closet sometimes. Shop your home and find pieces or artifacts that you've collected over time. And just honestly, this might sound woo, but like stop and reflect and think about like, why do you like this? What does it mean to you? Was it something from a travel experience? Then on top of that, do this throughout your house. On top of that, start collecting imagery. And I'm sure you already have some, everyone has imagery saved, whether it's like through Instagram or Pinterest or whatever it may be. Collect all of that imagery, put it up on a wall. And this doesn't have to be a quick exercise. It can be a slow one, and actually start to see similarities between what's happening with those objects that you may have found at home and the images that you've put on the wall. You can start to kind of really uncover things that you like, design elements that are patterns in the imagery. Or you're like, you know what, I thought I liked that at one point, but I actually really don't think that's for me. So you start to really edit things that you've saved and start again, like honing in on what it is you really want and like and want to feel in your space, and give yourself a holistic approach.
Ooh, that's a fun idea.
That is a fun activity. And I'm definitely the person that in my home it has to be like meaningful or beautiful or practical and useful. There's no in between. And both of us, we don't like clutter and unnecessary items. But I do think sometimes it's hard to pin down a specific direction maybe in your home. And you also do have to take into account, how is it used? Are you working there? Are you hosting people? Are kids there all the time? Like you're thinking about all that stuff. Plus, like, is it a row house? Are you in Toronto? Like, what's it like in the winter? Like that makes a difference too. And yeah, like you said, you can, I think taking elements from places too, like the way I save things is sort of like, I like little bits of like that Parisian apartment feel, but I also like LA kind of chill vibes, like 70s.
Yes.
So I try to play with those two things, and I'm just careful with like not bringing too many items in.
That's the challenge, right? We wanted to ask you about clutter too. Do you want to ask about clutter? That's a big thing, I feel like, especially for our listeners are mostly parents.
Yes.
And clutter is a fucking problem.
So. Yeah. So like, what are we doing with all the stuff? Where does it go?
Where are we hiding
like
it?
Your best storage hacks. I mean, especially for people with kids that are babies and toddlers, because later it gets a lot easier to just keep their stuff in their room, or, you know, make the basement the kids' play area or whatever. But at the beginning, you have, like, let's be honest, like, it has to be in your space. There's baby gates, there's mats, there's yellow toys.
Yeah. And we can't, that's the thing. Like, I feel like when we first had kids, I mean, that was 10 years ago now. So it wasn't like sage green and, you know, light wood. It was black and white, and everything had to be black and white. And that's
the best we could do,
was the
because
aesthetic.
The other option was like colorful.
But then you feel bad. You're like, this poor kid like just wants this ugly fire truck that lights up. Like, but where are we putting that, Adriana? Help us.
Where are we putting the ugly fire trucks?
Where are we hiding the ugly shit? There's a lot of it.
Great question. Yes. And from experience, I have a 4-year-old. So,
you know.
Yes, I understand. I know.
Soul.
So,
I'm guessing he doesn't like sage.
I tried. So I will say, I mean, at least out in the market, there are a lot more tasteful, color coordinated toys, but they always go to like the bright red. Yeah. So there are solutions. And yes, 100% it's going to get in the way. And I think we all also have to remember it is a season in our lives. It's not forever, but there are ways to work around it too. So the best solution is sort of dual purpose furniture. So closed storage is key. And I'm talking about coffee tables, storage coffee tables that you can throw all the things into at the end of the day, or have your kid throw them into at the end of the day so they understand the cleanup process.
Yes.
Storage benches, anything that can totally be concealed and put away. And I mean, when we started introducing toys in our living room, I was like, I can't, this is giving me a headache already. Like, I cannot. And so I just bought a beautiful basket from HomeSense as a temporary sort of
Yeah.
storage solution. And, depending on the toy sizes and whatnot, but everything just went in there. And so when it was put away, it still looked like it was stylized and artfully in the room. And I
Yeah.
would, if we had company over, although this was during COVID, but afterwards, when we had company over, you just drape a blanket over the basket and it looks like you've styled it. When you haven't, you're
Mm.
really just
Oh,
hiding the
good
toys.
hack.
That's smart. I
That's
was
a
gonna
good
ask, does the
hack.
Yeah,
basket
little
need to
things.
close? Like, do we need a lid?
If
Just
you,
throw
I
them.
mean, if you can get one, great, but sometimes those toys are impossible to
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
they're
store
weird
properly in
shapes.
a cylindrical form. Exactly.
Yeah.
So little things like that. There's storage ottomans. And I would say that, if you are working with a higher budget, think about millwork. So that's
Yes.
like built-ins and custom
Hmm.
cabinetry. If you can do that and take advantage of vertical space, or if you have, any space underneath your stairs, you're not just going to use that for kids' toys. You're going to use it for like everything, daily living things that you need for your household day in, day out. And that will help you maximize and just be able to have the junk areas in the time being or whatever it may be. But I would say the biggest hack really is storage furniture and millwork.
It just makes such a difference. Like,
Yeah.
my brain cannot function
Me too.
when there's clutter. So the first thing I have to do, like me now, I drop my kids off at school and come home and do it. But the first thing I have to do is get all the clutter
Same.
out of my way. Like, if I see it in my peripheral, I am not getting anything
This
done
is
that
the
day.
true
Like,
Virgo life.
it's a problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I also, of course, all the wisdom that I have comes from our private group. But another great idea that we gleaned from the group was like a toy cycle. So you keep like 4 large bins of toys, and every week or so, like 3 live in the basement and only 1 toy box lives upstairs at any given time. So it's just
And then you
not
rotate.
everything is out there. Well, because kids also get overwhelmed
They do. And they don't
by
use
so
a
much
lot of the
stuff.
stuff.
No, and they don't even know where to
Yeah.
start when there's a million toys. Like, if you can limit that to like 15 toys a week, and then as soon as they start like whipping them and whatever, then you're like, new toys, and then that basket goes back down to either the basement or the garage or your storage facility in your condo or
Yeah.
whatever it is. They don't all have to live in your living space at the
I
same
think
time.
my challenge
Completely.
right now is clothing, seasonal clothing, because we're going into like fall and winter and everyone needs their jackets and their things. And then shoes too. Shoes are killing me because my son has cleats for soccer, his Jordans for basketball, his regular shoes for school. And then like
Boots.
everyone yeah, and we're gonna get into winter boots and stuff. And we live in pretty modest Toronto homes. Like it's hard to have that all at the front. It's like
I don't have anything to give you. Maybe Adriana has a shoe tip, but I will say for clothes, because Aleks and I have the same footprint of houses, like classic Toronto row house, you need the vacuum seal bags.
yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Life-changing. Like winter coats, blankets,
Blankets.
hats, gloves, chunky sweaters, all that stuff goes in big bags. I stick my vacuum
She
on
had
it.
so much fun.
It sucks the air out, and then I store them under the beds or
Yeah.
wherever, and it's just
That's a
that's
good-
gone. And then in the spring we do the opposite. I mean, of course there's less
Yeah.
to compress of
Yeah.
summer stuff, but it does make a difference
Yeah.
when you get your like light jackets and your bathing suit, like whatever, just compress it all to nothing, and then just you can shove it wherever. It doesn't get dusty, no air gets in it,
Yeah.
it can't get moldy. So
That's a
we
good
need a
tip.
vacuum bag sponsorship. Okay, that's what we need actually. Okay, what about shoes then, Adriana?
Shoes. So yes,
I would love a mud room.
A
a mudroom would
Great.
be yes.
I know, like one day maybe, but that's how I see it.
A
It's like
mudroom in
everyone
millwork.
walks in, dumps their shit, and then walks into the house without it, and then I never have to see it again. That would be ideal, but unfortunately, my hallway is like I don't know 3 feet deep. So
Fair. So I've worked with a lot of clients similar to the footprints that you've described, and Nikita, I've had the opportunity of seeing your home as well.
Yes, you have.
And vertical storage is key, especially for shoes, because when we think about shoes, like obviously we always lay them flat on the ground, and that makes
Mhm.
sense for whatever you're wearing, a couple of, all of the things. But if you can take advantage of the vertical space with a super narrow closet, or cabinet, that will do wonders, or store them vertically. So have them standing up, even in a storage bench. It can be a small storage bench, but the minute that you actually stand them up, one, you can actually see them when you open up, the drawer. You can see what's going on in there. And you'll actually be able to fit in way more shoes than just like stacking pairs or it being chaos. Now, this also takes a little bit of habit and routine training with yourselves, with your kids, of course, which, is always fun. But it can honestly make such a huge difference.
God. They walk in and they kick their shit up and throw it everywhere.
Yeah. You're like,
I'm always like, please put your shoes underneath the bench and take your backpack to the back.
Yeah. No.
The fun mom.
I know, exactly. And they're like, oh, you guys are so boring. I hate you guys. Another row house related question.
Yes.
We're just doing this for us. Everybody else with your big houses, we can't help you.
You just call Adriana.
Yeah, you call her directly and she'll help you. But for now, we need to talk about row houses more. Let's talk about natural light.
Yes.
Because in terms of pleasure, natural light, I feel like just gives you get a little vitamin D in there. I feel so much better when there's natural light. But for a lot of us, the only light sources are at the front of the house and the back of the house because we're connected on the sides. So are there like tricks or tips that you can give? Like, how are we maximizing the light? Does it, you can talk about renovations, but also talk about like hacks if you can that aren't $10,000.
Yeah, for sure.
Windows are expensive.
I know.
Windows are expensive. So you're absolutely right. The right to light is really important and we need it. And so we'll talk about colors first. So light colors generally, obviously, reflect the most amount of light. So if you're in a narrow space with very little natural light, I would suggest keeping with lighter colors if you can, even lighter furniture, unless you want a vibe and you want it moody, absolutely. But in order to maximize the natural light that you do get, lighter colors are a little bit, they lean towards just maximizing what you already have.
Okay, wait, pause.
Yes.
Pause. What are the top 3 light paint colors that you're using these days?
Oh, well, we can talk about whites and creams. So Chantilly
I love
lace.
white walls.
White walls, yes.
Yes.
Chantilly lace is
Moore.
my favorite, yes, because it is not too cool and not too warm, doesn't look yellow. So it's a really fresh white. It's usually the white that I recommend a lot of new homeowners who've moved into a space that's like kind of crazy in colors if they didn't hire a good stager to just create a new blank canvas with. And then if you want kind of little tints, alabaster is amazing. And white Huron.
Okay.
Also Oxford white is great. So all of these. And the one thing I always recommend with clients, no matter the color that you're choosing, is you can order paper-sized, like letter-sized paper swatches, samples for free from Benjamin Moore, from Sherwin-Williams, all online, and order multiples of the same color and then place them on all of the walls in your home. Because one thing about this topic with natural light is you will have to study your light a little bit. Yeah. Like it's through the seasons, we know we're about to hit into fall and winter where it's like the gloomiest and doomiest.
When it's dark at 5, my house is like black in the winter.
Right? And that's like the most important season to actually do this color study if you have the time to do it. But I would highly recommend doing that.
Do it in the fall or winter because summer everything looks great.
Yeah, and you get that sun. Yeah.
Okay, you can tell us your second tip if you want.
Oh yeah, you can tell us your
second tip.
Before I so rudely interrupted you.
Oh my gosh, all good. Mirrors are your friend.
Oh, yes.
So mirrors also reflect the space. They help make a space feel larger, and so it will do the same thing with natural light. So especially if you're in a narrow space or a darker space, add a big wall mirror within there.
I did that. I feel like
it'll do wonders.
Nailed it.
Every time she says something that I'm like doing, I'm like, oh, I'm winning, except for my big black couch.
Yeah, but your big black couch
It's
works
a vibe.
in your space because it is a vibe, and everything else is light and bright, and you don't have a lot of stuff.
I have white walls. I open my windows up too. Let all the natural light in, and
and you're a good plant mom, so you have like. I feel like plants make a space feel more
They do.
alive too.
Yes.
I
Literal
can't
literal
fit
life.
anything else in
Literal
there,
life,
though.
exactly. Took me a long time to not kill plants though. Like really, this is my first year.
You're doing really good.
Thank you, babe.
I used to come over there and save them.
Yeah, she used to have to run
they
rescue
would,
missions.
I'd come over them and they would be in dire need
Yeah.
of all of the things.
Yeah, she's like, I'm just going to the bathroom because I'm gonna put your plants in the shower because they need a proper full
I'm
bath.
like talking to them. I was talking to them. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm here now. It's okay.
I'll help you. Your mom is awful.
I actually really do. I mean, we don't have this question here, but if you can just tell us quickly about your thoughts on plants and like how because I have been in homes with no plants and I find them very sterile, kind of like
And then you've been in homes with
presentation
too many
centers.
plants. And
Yes,
you're like,
there's
what happened
people that have
to you,
jungles in their homes, which is also its own vibe if you have a lot of space.
babe? Yes. But a tight home that's like full of plants.
They're only close to the window, so there's like no plants in the middle of my home because it's too dark.
Need some shade loving.
Plants are, I would say, imperative to have in your house. It's
Imperative.
literally
There you
bringing,
go.
yes, it's literally bringing outdoor life indoors.
Yeah.
And at like a very basic level, if you think about it, we used to live outdoors back in the long
Back in
eons
the
ago day, right? Like, and just like we need access to vitamin D daily, like within the first 30 minutes of us waking up, apparently, especially women.
Yes.
We need the exposure to the outdoors. And so just an easy way to do that is with plants. And it doesn't have to be greenery necessarily. It can even, oh gosh, this is so divisive, but it can even be faux plants if you don't have
Yeah.
a green thumb or you don't have an Aleks coming over to tend to
You
the
don't
plants.
have someone that's going to come rescue your plants.
My husband does all the things with plant related, so I'm lucky there. But
No, some
Yeah.
fake plants have gotten really
They've
good.
gotten really good. Yeah.
Fake plants have really improved.
I have them outside, so I get
That's smart.
yeah, for outside, like for palms and stuff, because what people do seasonally usually is like buy palms for the summer, outfit their whole backyard, and then they die. They don't belong here. And as soon as it gets cold, they don't like the indoors. It's too dry, it's too dark. So I just got fake ones. I got tired of throwing them out and replacing them. And now there's a fake one in the front, a fake one in the back. Looks great in the summer, looks great in the
Yeah.
winter, and whatever.
Good call, babe. Keep the real babies inside.
And dry plants are cool too.
dry plants, yes. There's science behind like incorporating biophilia in your space, including the greenery and the plants, and in terms of mood boosting and mentally. So to me, it's imperative whenever I stylize and accessorize a client's home, the plants are always there.
Agreed.
Okay, good. Okay. I want to talk about trends because I actually really resent the idea of interior design trends as a whole. Like, I get maybe if it's like a 10-year cycle thing, whatever, but I just find it so insulting to my soul when I open Instagram and they're like, now white paint is out. It's all about burgundy paint. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, do you know how much it takes to get a house painted? Like, I don't think you're allowed to change interior design trends.
Maybe people
year after year.
that can play with it more, they have more of a budget. I think for us, it would need to be more timeless and practical.
Yes.
But yeah, or you can do that if like dark green is the color of the year, you can do that in like your powder room.
Get a fucking
Like,
pillow.
You don't get a fucking
Okay.
pillow.
So do you have, other than get a fucking pillow, any more tips on avoiding trends altogether in interior design? Because I feel like we owe it to ourselves to do that.
I would say that while it's very easy to get caught up with trends, we need to forget about what other people think. And again, go back to what is our vision and our design narrative for our lives and our homes? What does that look like? I think when you're faced with a trend, it does force you to think about, hey, how am I feeling about what's going on in this room right now? And that's okay to question it, but to keep changing it is unrealistic. It's like fast fashion and fast
It's
furniture.
like fashion, yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, fast furniture, gross.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
They're one in this, like, it's literally, it's a huge problem in the industry, actually. And so I would just say, whatever you like is going to be timeless. Think about like the
true. If it
vintage
makes
piece
you
in your
happy.
closet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. that you keep re-wearing over and over because it's like a tried, tested, and true piece that you love. There's meaning behind it. You remember when you picked it up at that vintage or thrift shop or whatever before shopping vintage was super cool. You love it and you bring life to it. And it's no different than like the chair that you may have found or whatever it may be. And so whatever you really like, that becomes timeless in and of itself. That said, I know, some people want to lean into the boucle or the hunter green or whatever color of the year it is that Pantone has released. And I get that. And I think you can do that mindfully with some accessories that you can swap out seasonally if you'd like. And buy a
fucking pillow.
Literally. Do the blanket, buy new tapered candles in the color of the year and do a little tablescape to get your fill or something like this, right? But like, it doesn't have to be overhauling your entire living room. These things cost money and I don't think it's realistic. It's also just not sustainable for anybody and for the world.
I was going to say, the sustainability factor is not there. Yeah.
I love vintage furniture too. It's built so well and it is kind of timeless in its way because the mid-century stuff really does hold up. Like I've had it for 15 years and it's still cool.
Listen, there's some fast furniture items that I own. Like a lot of my house is from IKEA.
Me too. My kitchen's IKEA.
But it's like how I look at fast fashion things. Like I have some Zara and H&M pieces that I've had for like 10 years.
Me too.
Like it's fast fashion when you throw it out. Like that's when it becomes a problem. So if you're buying a new bed every 2 years, that's a problem. But if you bought an IKEA bed 10 years ago and it's still working, then you got a good thing going on.
It's how you use it.
It's how you use it. Yeah. I really deeply resent the interior design trends and how quickly I've seen them turn over lately. Like, now marble's out and tavertine is in.
Like, what are you doing with your marble?
Do you know how much that marble would have cost? And like, how bad would you feel if you just did your house the last year and now someone's on TikTok saying your design is bullshit now?
But according to who?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Who are you people? They're people that want to sell you.
Who's living in the space?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. Your space should feel deeply personal. So those items, like you said, should be making you feel good. Your coffee table is one that you chose because it's your personality and it's your style.
Yeah.
But maybe that's, easier to say if you have a clear direction in your mind or your style so well in and out. If you're someone that's like, I don't know what to do with my house. Should I go this way or that way? It could get a little bit confusing. Like if you bought a new house and you have no idea, you're just furnishing the entire thing.
Yeah. I think that's where you can circle back to doing that little exercise I mentioned of a vision session. And really, like, before buying anything, I mean, sometimes you have to buy things immediately, but just being way more mindful and intentional about what you want to achieve in your home. And it can include some trends if you really love them, but I think it just takes a little bit more reflection or working with a designer to help guide you through that process, because it does take a lot of thoughtful thinking and understanding how you live in your lifestyle from a function point of view. Like, how do you work in your kitchen? How do you host? Do you host? Do you have kids? What is your 10-year plan for this home? All of those things.
Yeah. So Adriana and I worked together because I moved into a new space and I didn't want to buy new furniture. So I was like, can you come? I did the thing. I painted everything white when I got there because I was like, I can't even think. I need it to be white so I can just get an idea of what I'm dealing with here.
Yeah.
But I had existing things that I was like, can you help me place like these things that I love and I want to incorporate into my space? And I wonder what my design narrative would be. Now I'm gonna think about it in the next segment.
Jeff Goldblum? I'm going off your fashion.
Yes, totally. What would Jeff Goldblum do is the question I ask myself before I purchase pretty much anything.
Yeah, but we're inspired by certain people and styles of things, like in fashion. And that translates, I think, into like your personal style must translate into your home.
Yes, but things speak to me. But I just was like, I needed expert eyes to tell me where things will work the best in the space. Like, where does this mirror work best? And you came and you measured everything and you made sure that like everything was all even and whatever, and you like, it was all my art that you helped me hang and mirrors and whatever. I think you recommended buying the shoe storage at the front.
Shoe storage. Yeah, you had already done a great job, I will say.
Thank you. Well, I have been accumulating things that speak to me for a
Yeah.
long time, but it was super helpful to have you kind of say, okay, you know, if you try putting this here and this there and move this around and maybe buy like two. I think I ended up spending like $600
Oh wow, that's
on
awesome.
stuff that I needed. Just
On a new island too,
Sometimes
right?
it's
the
overwhelming
island in the
too,
kitchen
though,
was
to think
clutch.
about like
It's not my job.
yeah, no, it's
Like
not.
that's not my. It's something that interests me, but I have
Yeah.
no expertise in it. So I think that we've lost the art of deference. I am always happy to defer to an expert.
Yeah.
Like I don't think this whole like, oh, everybody do your research thing. It's like
No, we don't.
you can't even scratch the surface of an industry that you know nothing about with like ChatGPT or
Yeah.
whatever. Sometimes you just got to go to an expert, and I'm happy that I did, babe. I'm very happy in my space. Thank you.
Oh, I'm happy. It looks great.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
so our next question is, what's the most impactful thing to splurge on when you're doing a full reno?
When you're doing a full reno, I would say your wet spaces, so your kitchens and your baths, even your laundry room, but kitchen would be top of
Yeah.
mind.
Mhm.
It is the
Okay.
space that even if you're Ubering, even if you're Ubering a lot or whatever, getting takeout, it is the most important space.
You spend the
Baths,
most
absolutely.
time
You're getting
there.
ready
You
them.
do spend a lot of time
You
in
spend the
there.
most time there.
Yeah.
You spend the most time in there, and I think when you're in a space that you don't love, in the sense of the design around it does accumulate on you. It weighs on you mentally a little bit, and I think it's nice to be able to romanticize all of your little moments throughout your day, if that makes any sense. When you're surrounded by something that works.
Preaching to the choir with this
Yes.
one over here.
I do. I romanticize my life every
Yeah.
morning. But with the kitchen thing too, is like that's the place that I go to first. I wake up early and you're in the bathroom maybe for a second, or you get out of your bedroom, but you're going down to have those first moments in the kitchen.
Yes.
So it needs to be like, I always make sure it's tidy the night before. Like I'm hooking up future Aleks, because I
Yeah.
can't come down to like a sink full of dishes and then it's not feeling right. It's, I don't have a lot of things on the counter. I put my toaster away. Like I put all those kinds of things away so that I can come down, make my coffee, the lights streaming in, and I'm
Yes.
like peaceful. So
Yeah.
it does make
So what are you splurging on in that space? Is it the stone? Is it the
The
faucets,
appliances?
the knobs and the pulls, and like where's a good place to, if you're, say you don't have a huge budget and you just want to splurge on
Mhm.
like one thing? Are we doing the stone? What are we doing?
That is so hard to answer.
a fridge. What's more
I will.
expensive?
Well, okay. Appliances, I mean, this is so personal to each person, but I would say if you're going to splurge on something, it should be the countertop, because you're using that work surface day in,
Yeah.
day out. Whether you're prepping directly on it, you're hosting wine stains, turmeric stains, whatever it may be. And that also visually, because it takes up so much
Mhm.
space, planar space, it has a huge impact visually. That said, hardware is also one of the easiest ways to upgrade the space with a healthy budget or a lower budget. But it's like
Right.
it's adding the accessories to your outfit. It's like the jewelry. So those two are top of mind in the sense of what you should splurge on. And if you can, don't get shitty cabinets.
Oh, shitty cabinets. Yeah, no. I was just going to ask you if you have a favorite countertop material, because that's a big question with people, because there's
Yes.
ones
Ooh.
that get ruined with heat and have, glass stains and things like that. So I have friends that have made decisions like that have spent lots of money on it, and they're upset about it. They hate
Yeah.
it. They can't, it's not useful. So if you can give our audience a hot tip of what your favorite materials are for countertops, maybe.
So again, it really depends on the person. I love soapstone. So soapstone is a natural stone, and it takes heat really well.
Isn't that what you have?
I think so. Ours is good. Like we made
you have
sure,
soapstone.
like we knew we were gonna be like, there's gonna be parties, there's
Yeah.
gonna be hot stuff. Like
Amazing.
we can't mess around and be super bougie, because we're
Yeah.
gonna be using that kitchen.
Yeah.
Soapstone's more of, more expensive material because it's a natural stone, but it is pretty impervious to a lot of things. It's also darker in color, so from a stain perspective, it hides more. Quartz is the popular one, and there's different varieties of quartz. I will say, if you're choosing a material like quartz, be very careful about the companies that you're purchasing from. Some will warranty it, some won't. There are a lot of knockoff products that look very similar but don't stand up to the quality. And then, marble is marble, and you have to also be okay with something aging and having patina over time. That's the beauty of a natural material.
I do love myself.
So it's hard to say one specific thing. Yeah. One thing I will recommend, though, if you're choosing when you're choosing a countertop, choose what you're looking at, get some samples, and actually test what happens with
that's a good idea too.
Wine or things that you're cooking with on a regular or serving on the countertop surface on the regular, and actually start testing stains on it and how easy it is to clean. Now, some countertop materials need to actually be sealed once they're installed, and so when you're getting a sample, they don't have the sealant, but it's still a pretty telling way of what's going to work for your lifestyle or not. Yeah.
Okay. Hot tip. I like it.
And no ugly cabinets.
Yeah, and no ugly cabinets. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. But then when we get back, we're going to play a little game of overrated or underrated. So don't go anywhere. When families break up, relationships become strained, positions harden, and finances become uncertain. This is exactly when you need to get in touch with Julie Tyus and the incredible team at Tyus Family Law. We searched for an entire year to find the right lawyer to add to our RMX directory. During that time, Julie came highly recommended to us by multiple sources, with everybody raving about her legal acumen as well as her kindness and empathy. Julie is responsive and approachable, and her objective is straightforward: guiding clients toward a much happier place in their lives calmly, clearly, and as painlessly and cost-effectively as possible. Visit tyusfamilylaw.ca, that's TYAS familylaw.ca, to learn more or to arrange a free 20-minute consultation with one of the experts on the Tyus Family Law team. You won't regret it. We are back and we're going to play a game. Are you ready?
Our favorite game.
You can do quick answers. You don't have to explain your thought process behind anything. You're just going to tell us if it's overrated or if it's underrated.
And then we can talk about it quickly if you want.
If we want to have banter, we can have banter, but you don't have to explain yourself, okay?
She's scared.
Okay.
Okay. I might make people upset, but here we go.
No, don't worry. You're on the Rebel Mama podcast
it's okay.
here. It's a safe space.
Okay, pampas grass.
Overrated.
Oh.
Synthetic stone.
Underrated.
Mid-century modern aesthetic.
Oh my God, underrated. Never overrated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Modern farmhouse aesthetic.
Oh, that's a big one right now.
Overrated.
Yeah, like especially
Overrated.
for people in the city, like, babe, that's cute, but like when you open your door, nothing says farmhouse.
That's done. Yeah, exactly. Heated floors.
Oh, I love heated floors.
Oh, underrated.
Yeah,
and is that a really big expense?
I think
It
it's
is.
a sizable expense. Yeah, it depends on how much of it you want. I mean, bathrooms are, I guess, the priority. Or any cold
and
space in
basements.
the house. And basements. Oh, basements.
Oh, heated floors in the basement would be nice.
I would spend more time in my basement if the floors were heated. Right now, it's just like gross
Right now, it's the
boy
kids'
land.
room. Ew.
Yeah, gross. I'm never going down
You
there.
have to think about the long-term maintenance costs of heating your floors. So it's not just the
Oh.
installation, but you have to think about just like your, a mortgage payment or whatever, the bills. You have to think about the longevity of that.
That's true. I want a
Expense.
heated walkway or a heated driveway. That's what I really want. That's luxury.
When the snow melts.
That's when you know.
That is luxury. Yeah.
When you know, you know. Okay.
Next one.
Above ground pools.
Oh, underrated.
I have seen some really cool ones. That's
Yeah,
why
they're
I think
cool
that
now. They're
there's
not
like,
as
it can be
bad
a vibe.
as they used to be in the 80s and 90s. That was pretty atrocious.
Parquet flooring.
Oh, underrated.
I love parquet flooring. take
I have
it.
such a strong opinion on that one.
Yeah, that was like your easiest
It's
answer.
very
yeah.
European.
It is.
Yeah,
very
It's
European. And it's
parquet
timeless.
doesn't always have to mean the like it is timeless. It doesn't always have to mean like the aged old Toronto apartment where you see like the 4-inch strips of parquet.
Yes.
There's so many different types of parquet and they look amazing and very European in style. So underrated.
Okay, I like it. Wood paneling?
Not underrated or overrated. Just sort of
I've
in the middle.
seen it pop
Depends.
up as a trend in like restaurants and bars.
That's a good place for trends to live.
Yes,
Like-
not in your home.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like I have experienced there's something about going down into like a basement on St. Clair
Yeah,
and it's all
specifically.
like, and then you're like, oh yeah, like
It is
people
really
have like
cool.
throw down parties in here.
But
in,
it's
like, the
cool now
70s and
too
80s.
to
It's a
be
vibe.
kitschy like that.
Yeah.
But like right after that, it was not cool, right? So in
No.
the 80s and 90s or whenever that trend passed, it was like the ugliest thing you can have. Now
Then
we're
we-
back to brown.
Then we wallpapered over everything in fucking hunter green, which is why I'm like,
You know what I need in my life, which is totally unrelated? Those grooving areas that they used to have in
Yes.
the 70s with that
Yes.
dug in
conversation
con-
pits.
conversation pits.
We need
Like,
to bring back
what
the
the hell? Where
conversation
did those
pit.
go? People just decided I don't
No
have
more
room for fun.
conversation.
No more fun.
No more conversations. Get
No,
on your
they're-
phone.
They're making room for their home gyms and
Oh boo.
Fuck that.
We'll take a conversation pit
Yeah.
over a home gym
Yeah,
any day.
go for a walk outside and then have your friends over and sit in the conversation. That's wellness. Okay, white walls. I mean, I think we know your answer.
No, I'm in
Oh.
between. Again, they're not underrated, they're not overrated. I think
Okay.
it really depends on the person and what they like. White walls
Okay.
are timeless despite what everyone is saying on Instagram or whatever. It's a bunch of bullshit.
Hoo-ha.
I can say that here.
You can say that here. It took
Yeah.
you a long time to get it out. Just
It's
get
like
it out.
the end of the
sister.
episode.
Yeah.
She's like swearing.
Took her 40 minutes.
But spaces, full white walls with no characters.
Oh yes, of
Overrated.
course.
Well, I think
That's always gonna be
also
gross.
like if you have a lot of artwork on your walls, the white walls show it so well because it has that gallery feel.
Yes.
So it just depends
Yes.
what's on your walls. If it's just white and nothing on them, then yeah, that looks a little.
Yeah, that you got to do that like lime washing technique if you want to have like light walls with nothing on it.
Yeah.
Like that's sexy too, but also a trend with Tabertine. Okay. My last one is IKEA furniture. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Yeah, they've been doing some
Yeah.
good stuff. I'm impressed with how they keep developing their product selection. I'll be honest with you, and it's good. And you can like my IKEA kitchen looks great.
Yes.
They just keep getting better.
The kitchens
Too,
are
and
amazing.
The kitchens are awesome, and they're getting better.
Yeah.
And you can spend a pretty penny in there too.
Yeah. Hi IKEA.
Hi, IKEA.
Anytime.
We'll take your money too.
Anytime you want.
A lot of home DIYers are
Yes.
extremely creative with IKEA hacks. Like I'm amazed at some of the things that they pull off with IKEA furniture and make it look incredibly high end and custom at a
Yeah.
fraction of the cost. So
Yeah.
underrated with what you can do with IKEA for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Okay, awesome.
Well, that brings us to a
Yeah.
close. Thank you so much for joining us today, Adriana. And thank you to our beautiful listeners for tuning in once again to the Rebel Mama podcast. Adriana, where can people find you if they're looking for you?
Well, thank you for having me, guys. Seriously, this was so much fun. You can find me online at adrianadesign.ca. That's Adriana with one N. Or on socials on Instagram, Adriana Pie Design.
Okay.
Or you can
awesome.
check out our directory too. She's on our
Yes.
website. She's Rebel Mama approved and
Of
vetted.
course.
Yes,
So
yes,
it's all
yes. Amazing. So
awesome.
you know where you can find us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube.
the Rebel
everything
Mama
at
all
the
around.
Rebel Mama. As always, we'd love for you to like, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen, and feel free to share it with a friend who you think would enjoy it. This podcast was produced by Space Monkey inside the Soda Studio. The song you're listening to is called Name a Number off the debut album Unrequited by Roshan. Stream it now on Apple Music.